Create Aeronautics is a mod that I have been waiting for eagerly for years. It promises to let you imbue your builds with physics, allowing you to make planes, airships, cars, and a lot more. And a couple of weeks ago, it finally came out with no warning whatsoever. So today I took it upon myself to build a helicopter from scratch without a single plan or idea of how we're going to achieve it. First, we try out some of the new blocks and items that make this all possible. Then we build our first ever prototype. Turn you off. Okay, that's not worked. Please don't fall down there. I swear down, man. And finally, we build something that's actually pretty amazing, if I do say so myself. That is the first landing of our helicopter. This is so sick. So welcome to Create Aeronautics. Today, I want to be messing around with the Create Aeronautics mod, specifically building ourselves some kind of flying machine, hopefully probably a helicopter or a plane. I don't actually know. I've not built this before, so we're going to try and find out. I've done a little bit of creative work to figure out how to actually get something to fly, but that's basically as far as I've got. So today we're going to be building with no plan whatsoever, getting straight stuck into a mod that I've never played before in a single player world that I have spent, let's have a quick look, 40 days in. I could have easily milked this for an 100 days video, but I've decided not to. I'm going to do a little unplanned video. And that's because I kind of want to have a bit more of a chilled, less edited Let's Play. I don't really know how to explain this. I just want to try something different whilst we're in between packs. We've got a ton of resources already, so I've done a little off-camera mining, as they say, as well as getting ourselves a little brief tree farm set up. So nothing too crazy. Before we do that, let me actually demonstrate a little bit about the Create Aeronautics mod. To get yourself started, you want to grab yourself a physics assembler. All of this can actually be made really early on. You don't even need to get into brass for it. And we can literally imbue any of our blocks with physics. So if I just place down an oak plank, maybe a little bit further away from these sheep so they're not making enough of a racket. There we go, a little oak plank there. If I pop a physics assembler on top, I can then hold right click and scroll this up to the top, and that imbues this object with physics. I can whack it around like this. I can even start adding to this block. So I can add even more blocks on the side like so, and I can even add like a little handle here. And handle's really cool. Basically, if I hold shift right click, I can move my objects around like so. Or I could actually hold right click and I'll kind of cling to the object and I can use my mouse to get around it, if that makes sense. So I can actually climb on top of this. Maybe this is a bit of a terrible example, but yeah, there we go. On top of this, I can actually break parts off and they become their own little physics entities as well. This gets really cool. And they all interact with each other. In fact, I didn't even know it dropped or interacts with these kinds of items there, but that was really cool. And I can actually take away the physics assembler and that still stays as it is until I break it. And in fact, I've got Ultimine on. I can literally break all of that like so. Very cool. So let me demo a couple of other things. One of the other things from this mod is the portable engine. You can place it down like so, and you can just use these things in Create. You don't have to have them as physics objects, but obviously that's kind of what they're intended for. And this is really cool. Basically, it's a one block portable engine, where if I give it a item that it can smelt up like charcoal, it will produce some stress units around the back here. At a decent rate, and also 2,000 SU roughly, which is pretty cool, and it's good for powering something pretty basic. So, as an example, I'm going to pop a mechanical saw, but first of all, let me imbue this with physics. I saw this in the trailer, that's why I want to kind of show this off. Let me imbue this with physics, like so. Now this is actually movable. I'll whack a saw, on the front, like that. Now we've got like a movable chainsaw. In fact, if I grab an iron handle, I can actually move this around. You know what, let's test this out. Let's chop a tree with it. I'm going to fling it over here. Let's try this out. Yeah, it's working. Check that out. We've actually got a little portable chainsaw that we can bring to any kind of block here and break it like so. So, I mean, we're not even scratching the surface of this mod. You can actually get involved with making something like a hot air burner and actually make it like a little airship, make it fly. Or you can use, I've got some propeller bearings somewhere here, yep, propellers. And yet you can whack on some propellers here as an example and get these to move. I think it's also a good time to chat about ropes, specifically rope winches, rope couplings, and rope connectors. We can simply place these on any kind of block like that, connect them using rope like so. And I think if we right click with a wrench, we can, oh my goodness, well, that was not what I intended, but you can actually right click with that and you'll fly down it as if it's a zip line. That's really cool. I love this. However, we can also do this with physics entities. So if I have a little physics entity just here, we whack a connector on this side, connector over there, we can actually connect these together and it then becomes like attached. So if I had an airship, I can actually tether it to the ground like so, and it won't fly off. It's really cool. I love this. It's really strange, because you're not really kind of used to playing with this. You don't realise how many possibilities there actually are. And also, if you want to unimbue something with physics, you can just turn that off, and it'll place it back into the world again. Really, really nice. I wonder if this works for something like our beehive over here. We've only got 2 bees inside, so I think I'll be fine. Let me try and imbue this with physics. I don't know whether the bees are going to actually interact still. That'll be a bit of an interesting test. However, I can actually move this hive around without breaking it. This is so goofy. Oh no, don't fall off the edge. Oh no, that's actually screwed me. Oh no. Right, I'm gonna have to go and get that. That's really, I don't know why I did that. You'll find out very shortly that this ravine ends up being the bane of my existence. So, a little bit of foreshadowing here. Oh, it does work. Look, the bees just came out. This is so scuffed. You know what I want to do? I think we can test out the rope winch here. I'll place it up here. This wasn't actually intended. I know this seems like a bit of a scripted event. I didn't intend to fling this thing off the edge of a cliff. If I give this a rope coupling and then come all the way down here, I don't know, we might end up running out of range. Yeah, we're just out of range. Let me grab the rope connector, place it there. Oh no, we are. Right, okay, cool. Oh, it's raining. You know what? Because this isn't actually like a Let's Play series, I can actually just toggle the rain. Oh, like I would normally do in a regular gameplay. This is so nice. Right, anyway, so what was I doing? I was climbing up here. If I give this a hand crank, I should be able to... Oh no, I have to shift right click. Should be able to actually pull this up the mountain. Yeah, I can see slowly it's moving up. I may have recovered my beehive. This was so stupid. I don't know why I did this. Oh! It's slightly glitchy. I mean, the mod is still in development, but to be honest with you, I've not had really any problems at all with it. And check that out. We've now recovered our beehive successfully. Right, just so that doesn't fall down again, I'm going to pop another rope collector up on here, like so. I do not want that falling down again. And then I'll place my pulley up at the top there, over here. Then I'm going to have to remove that last other little bit of rope just here. I should be able... Now, it's slightly glitched through the floor, so I don't know what it's going to do around here. Hopefully it's not going to completely mess about, but... he says as it's flinging about. Right, hold on. If I cut some slack here, and then grab the handle like that, and then pull this over and around. Nice. Right, I have finally recovered my beehive. I'm going to go and place that back where it was before I completely messed it all up. Right, there we go. It's now in place. Let me place down the physics assembler and then reassemble it. What the heck? Okay, that works too, I guess. Oh, there we go. I've recovered one bee at least. Hopefully I can get the other one. There was also another bee. There was a third bee, but that's also gone. So, you know what? For now, at least we've got and recovered that one bee. I'll whack a little campfiring carpet. Vanilla mechanics, man. So weird playing a mod pack without, like, productive bees in the advanced archive. Anyway, sorry, slight distraction. At least I got to show off the rope mechanics, which is what I was trying to aim for. So the next two things that I want to show off is, we've all seen before how you can gear up or use gear ratios to increase the speed of your cogs. So I think it's something like this. You go from big to small, then big again to small, but you have to case this one off. And you'll end up with quite a decent amount of speed here. So we're turning this water wheel's really slow speed into a gear that's a little bit quicker. And you might also be aware of the rotational speed controller. That does require the precision mechanism, which ends up being a little bit later. You need to get, you know, the old deployers, get this automated, or you can do this manually with just one. But there's also another option, which I think is actually a little bit better. If I grab my wrench and take all of this back, we have this new analog transmission, and basically this will turn up or down the speed depending on where you place this. And this is a little bit of a confusing kind of setup, so hopefully I can kind of demonstrate how it actually functions in its use. So if I placed this here and then a cog on top like so, depending on the redstone signal, I'm going to use an analog lever here which allows us to actually manually set the strength. You'll see that the speed will change, so if I pop a speedometer on here. Now right now, it's actually slowing this down further and further depending on how far this this analog strength goes. And we can get it down to as low as 0.75 over here, really slow. Check this out. Oh my goodness. However, we could also do this the exact other way around, having a cog just here and an analog transmission on the top of it, and it will actually speed it up based on the analog input. So I'm going to try and see how fast we can actually get it until we're probably going to overstress something. There we go, it says 14 strength. How fast can we get it? 64 RPM. Now that's not the fastest it could be. We can get it up to 256. It's not terrible. So I'm wondering, I think what I could do is probably place a large cog over here, analog transmission on this one over here, whack the analog lever there and pop it onto as far as a signal as I can get for it to function. And then use a shaft to connect it over to my main workshop setup that I've got here. I said I was going to lay off the editing a little bit, but I've just been spreading misinformation in my live commentary. The point that I was trying to make is that it's almost the same as a rotational speed controller, but it uses a redstone signal rather than the expensive precision mechanism. So it can be really handy having this in a workshop and just controlling your speeds using it and avoiding all the gearing up and gearing down that you'd normally have to do. This comes in real handy when we've got things like a propeller. Right now the thruster's actually going the wrong way. You'd probably want it pushing out that way. But this is just an example. We can actually control the strength of this. So if we want to fly at different speeds, we can just use this analog strength lever. And that will change the speed that this actually runs at. We can even get it to... Yeah, look at that. That's rapid. And Create Simulated also provides us... Here we go. The throttle lever. And it works the exact same as this analog lever. But it works, in my opinion, a little bit neater. Because you place it down like so. And it's basically a lever here, but you can control it from this interface. So it makes it a little bit neater to just kind of quickly boost up speed and lower speed like that. Really cool. Oh, I missed out one thing as well. What I was going to show off is the, I think it's called the directional gear shift. Yeah, this one, the directional gear shift. This is quite cool, and this will definitely be used during our flying machines because, where's my propeller? Here it is. If I plop the gear shift like so, and then plop the propeller on like that, I can actually power on different sides and it will actually turn in that direction. So here right now it's still getting the RPM through, but it's not actually spinning the fan. If I give it a signal, it will now speed it on this direction, so we're getting thrust in that way. But if I turn that off, turn that on, it's now pushing the other way. So what we could do is have redstone links on either side of these and actually control it with either levers or even our linked controller using our mouse and keyboard to actually move contraption left and right. So that'll come in handy when we're playing with that a little bit later. So, you know what? I've got this large space here. Let me try and build ourselves a helicopter. I think that'll be quite a cool one. I did see that there's the propeller. So we're using these regular andesite propellers. There's also a propeller bearing, and this allows you to, similar way that you could make a windmill, you use the propeller bearing and add your sails on it, and that'll produce a lot more thrust. But I think it also uses a lot more stress, so we'll have to kind of balance that a little bit. However, there's also this gyroscopic propeller bearing. Now this, I believe, forces it to face upwards a bit like a gyroscope. So yeah, the demo that they've got here is if you use a regular propeller bearing, it will kind of veer off and fly. But this propeller bearing here, the gyroscopic one, will keep it in the air. I love this demo, man. The ponders are so cool for this. Alright, that's awesome. So that's what we're going to be trying to use. However, I think the recipe is a little bit confusing. Oh, we're going to have to use this deployer setup anyway. Okay, not to worry. So I guess this gives me a little bit of time to chat about what on earth this video actually is. I've been a bit inspired by Flow State and a couple of other YouTubers that kind of upload this organic... I can't really describe it as like... Oh, have we done it? Oh, perfect. Kind of more organic, unedited style of Let's Play. Rambling, but I don't mean it in like a negative way. I mean it more in a sense of like, it's a bit more like the olden days of YouTube. I personally kind of like this content and I've been watching a lot of it. And so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. I know this is probably the space for a live stream, but I quite enjoy making something a little bit different, trying some new things on the channel. You know me, after a series, we're always trying out something completely different for no apparent reason. And I kind of enjoy doing it. It's good fun. And it keeps me on my toes as a content creator, trying out new ideas all the time. So, here we go. A little bit more of an actual structure for this one. The gyroscopic propeller bearing, we've got it now. Let's test this out. I think I've got some windmill sails. I don't know whether I need these. I need the symmetric ones. Create Simulated adds these ones. I don't know what the difference is. Ah, right. Okay. So, regular sails provide lift and symmetric sails don't. And I guess we'll test everything that we know so far. So, we've got the portable engine. That will go... here. I want to speed up this engine, so what I'll do is whack a analog transmission. No, we're going to do cog first, I think. So cog first, analog transmission. Yes, right on top. Seems like a decent place, like that. which will then need a gearbox, a vertical one to be more precise, and then on top of that, a propeller bearing. Right, and I think that's like a little self-contained system. So what I'll do then is build a small propeller on top. We've got 16 windmill sails in total, so I think that's, what, 4 on each side? Should be okay. We'll give that a go. Okay, cool. It's looking pretty good so far. Now, obviously, if I set this all up as a physics contraption, it's just going to fly off into the nothingness. So what I will do is we'll play around. We'll grab that rope winch that we've got, and I'll actually hook up this physics contraption here. And I've got a iron handle on the side, so if we want, we can actually climb aboard. Oh no, sorry. Right-click and climb aboard our contraption. Again, this is not a proper helicopter. This is just testing. We'll also get the rope connector there, and then we'll connect those two up with a little bit of rope, like so, and a hand crank over here, so that hopefully what will happen is it will go up in the air and we can actually control the lift and everything like that with this. I'm also going to grab this diagram contraption. You'll see what this does in just a little while. Let's tear down this little bit here, that out, and then I guess we'll get the honey glue out and actually stick together our contraption. So, I think that will go like that, up to the top here, and we'll use control to pull this out by one block and one block there. I think that's okay. The propeller bearing will stay there, and it will actually glue the whole of the sails together. So, pop the assembler just here, whack that on so it now exists as a physics entity. I'm going to pop the throttle lever. I'm going to whack that. Oh, where's it gone? Over here. I'm going to put that on the side of the analog transmission so we can actually control it from here. So, if I now give this my charcoal, we should now see it's moving. It is. It's looking really good. Now, the contraption diagram that I mentioned earlier, if you place this on the side of a contraption, you can actually see some more information and a really cool graphic about the contraption, as well as different effects and forces that we're going to be applying to this contraption. So right now, we've got a bit of propulsion force pushing down. If I say that, is it pushing the right direction? It's not. So we actually need to flip this that way, and instantly it flies off. Right, this has gone terribly. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Right, let me sleep first. I'm just going to let that roll around in the background. This has not gone well. This has really not gone well. And I should probably mention this for those who are wondering. I'm currently playing a single-player world of the Just Create Season 2 mod pack, but I've added Create Aeronautics and a couple of other quality of life mods just because I'm playing single-player, like Ultimine and a couple of visual changes. I was literally watching Foxy's and Mr. Beardstone's videos whilst I was playing this pack, and then I suddenly got inspired to try out Aeronautics, but more in a survival let's play rather than just in creative mode. So that's how you ended up with this video. It's just taken out half of this tree. It actually attacks the leaves, I didn't realise. Okay, I did a little bit of off-camera work. It's now fixed, and the reason is because the rope connector was on the front, pulling the machine forward, which was then being counteracted by the stabilised gyroscopic propeller. And these two systems were just having a little go at each other, causing it to spin absolutely chaotically out of control. What I was trying to demo to you was we can now actually see the force of gravity and the propulsion force that we're getting on this plane. And right now we've got more thrust force than the gravity force, and so we're able to actually achieve lift. Now, the interesting part about Create Aeronautics is that the air is a little bit less dense the higher we get, and so that same lift force starts to even out, meaning that we'll hover at a certain Y level depending on the amount of force we give. So basically, spinny spinny go quick, we end up going higher. We're actually going to just try and disassemble it, because I'm sure it'll be a lot easier to work when this thing isn't just flailing about. There we go. Right, back to normal. Something I also forgot to mention is we've also got this centre of mass option shown, and right now that is right in the dead centre. But if I started adding blocks onto the end, that will actually move the centre of mass over a little bit, and you'll see it's kind of skewing over to this side. And so the gyroscope is actually coming into play, probably not as obvious in this example. If I grab some cobblestone, which is a little bit of a heavy material here, it says 2 kilograms. So if I pop that there, you'll see this is really starting to work, and the gyroscope is, yeah, definitely pointing in a different direction. So it's kind of cool and interesting to note, and it's run out of fuel again. So I'm just trying to think how this thing is going to be formed. I've actually managed to pop a second generator here because I've realised that we're kind of not really maxing this out on its amount of thrust. And if we're going to be adding some weight, or maybe we add some storage to this, we kind of need a bit more thrust. And so what I've done is add a second engine just here, and I've connected them both up with a cogwheel. But I don't know whether you can see the rotation of these guys. You can actually switch this up. So what I've actually done is, because these two cogs are touching each other, I've set the rotation on this one to be the exact opposite, counterclockwise, to this one. We'll pop our seat over here. So this is where we'll actually sit and pilot the helicopter itself. I'm just trying to think about how I want this to function. We need something that controls the speed of this propeller over here. And we also need a way to make this go forward and turn. Now, I'd rather change this up a little bit because I don't want this to be the exact same speed as whatever this is. I kind of want the highest speed we can get for the turning axis anyway. So I'm going to leave the analog transmission and we'll probably do something else with it. But what I kind of want is something on the rudder. Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Oh, I've got, I guess, a mod on here that allows us to change the look of shafts. That's really cool. But what I'd want is basically a propeller at the end over here, like a real helicopter, which is actually going to pivot it left and right and actually turn our machine. But we also need thrust to go forward. I don't know whether you can angle the gyroscopic propeller. I don't think you can. So what I might need to do is a different method of powering it. So we might have to plonk a propeller on like the backside over here or something for the forward and backward movement. Thinking about it, I think it would probably have to be closer to the top so that the helicopter actually points downwards, because if I did this, it would actually lift upwards, which doesn't really look like a helicopter. Helicopters traditionally sort of point downwards when they go forward. Ooh, okay, right, I've got an idea. Basically, I swapped out that cog there. I realised you can actually use the analog transmission there as itself. You'll see this middle one here doesn't actually, the generator doesn't mind how quickly it's spinning, only that it's going in the right direction. So you have a look there. This is actually spinning really quickly, and we're able to ramp this up to its maximum strength, which I think is 13. That seems to be going at the fastest speed. Any more and it actually kind of goes too fast and ends up braking, going to its slowest speed. So that'll work. So that means that we could then pull off a shaft line and do all of the cool turning possibilities and the pushing forward through this shaft line over here. But I've got another analog transmission here, which is actually slowing down that speed, and so we can use this to control the lift that we get on the gyroscopic propeller. Now for this we'd probably use a redstone link with a throttle lever somewhere on the contraption to control the lift. So we will have a little play around with that, but that is pretty good for the thrust controls. So I'll leave that like so for now and focus on our other issue of actually getting this thing to move forward and turn. And then I guess we'll probably have to figure out the weight problem as well. Okay, so the thrust forward and backward, I'm going to pull off this and use 2 vertical gearboxes here. And that way I can place the directional gear shift just here, and we can have the andesite propeller like that. Oh, okay, cool. Well, we can actually set it up so that this is facing this way. The way that I did that was, I think, and right click, and then you can also shift right click. And I think I just sort of meandered it in place like that. So that means that we can actually control it from the left and the right side. We couldn't do the top and the bottom because that shaft is underneath. We could move it, but I think this is a little bit neater. So now we can have the force pushing in that way and then that way. So that's our forward and back controls. Although, looking at this, it is a little bit far. I kind of wanted the propeller to be a little bit closer. It's not the end of the world, though. I think we can get away with it. And then on the back, I don't know whether I will probably extend this one more for the length. But what we can do is have a gearbox, directional gear shift like that, and then the propeller like so, doing the exact same with a lever on... I've done it again. Right, I'm going to switch that over to the right way. Right, there we go. That's working. And then I can place the lever on this side and this side, and that will also control the left and right controls. So, that's looking cool. That does stick out a little bit. I'm not particularly a fan of how much that sticks out. I'm wondering... Oh, no, I've got an idea. Surely I could actually place the propeller over on here and just... Oh, I've done this wrong again. Place the propeller over here and actually just use this here to control it, right? Yeah. Okay. So now it's not sticking out 2 blocks, and we also get the controls over on this side. Does this still work? I think it should. Nice. Yeah, that's thrusting in both ways. That looks so much better. And I tell you what, it's starting to take shape. I might move this 1 block forward, though. That looks a little bit too far. Yeah, tell you what, we'll move this 1 block forward. Okay. Right. This is starting to look good, guys. I'm quite liking this. I guess the best thing now would be to hook up like a control panel for it. So we've got our seat just here. That's our view. I think that's fine. That block there will probably end up being switched out with something else. We need somewhere for the control for the thrusters to go. We're using only the one for the up-down, so I'm wondering, we could have it... Oh, do we make a full cockpit for this? I'm wondering. Something along like this line. We can have the throttle lever on this side, the typewriter or linked controller here. We need something over here. Maybe like a barrel or something, who knows. And that would look pretty cool. I want to even this out, so yeah, you know what? Got a barrel. Might as well use it, although that does block our view. Ooh. I know what we could do. Let's whack a sensor, an altitude sensor. That'd be sick. We'll have that over here, so that kind of makes our cockpit view look a lot nicer. Right, I'm happy with that. Okay, so I've crafted myself a linked controller. And the cool thing about this is basically if you hold shift right click, you can actually set different frequencies. So if I grab my redstone link, you know what, we'll take off these two levers here to control left and right. I place redstone links on either side and set them both to the receive mode, shift right click. Then I need to give them a signal. I wonder, what should we use? It's the turning signal. What's a good turning signal? You know what, windmill sail. That'll do. We'll do the red signal there for that one, and then on the blue signal, I've got to be a bit careful. Let's try and right click that there. Cool, that's now working. So if I go into my linked controller, shift right click, I want windmill sail here and windmill sail on these sides here, the A and D movement keys. So now if I right click this, A moves it in that direction. I think I've got the wrong direction, that's fine. And then D will move it like that. So cool, we just need to switch that around like so. Awesome. Now there is also the typewriter. Now I'm actually going to whack on cheat mode. Oh, it was already on, guys. I'm cheating in this Let's Play. And the typewriter is a really interesting one, because what you can do with this is basically shift right click and you'd get the whole keyboard to your liking. So I can actually use keys that I don't actually have available here, like R, T, all of these different QWERTY ones here. Eventually we do actually move over to using the typewriter. I was having some issues with the linked controller and I couldn't really explain why this was happening. That is now working. I've also crafted the altitude sensor and popped that there because I think the view from our cockpit looks pretty cool. If I take away that, I can plop down a lectern and then right click my linked controller in here. And I can actually control my plane from here, which I think is a really cool view. Check that out, I love it. And then I can just shift right click to pop that controller off and then set up everything else. So we now need to sort out this one here. That's the forward and backward movement, and that should be okay. We'll set up the redstone link there and there, set them onto receive mode. I'm going to use a large cogwheel for this one. Oh, nice. Set that up like so, and then we'll pop these ones in like that. Let's just check that I've got that right. That should be forward. It's not. Oh my goodness. Yeah, skills. I got it the wrong way round twice in a row. So now, if I right click, W is forward, S is backwards. It's looking pretty cool. And it's going at the maximum speed right now. And the only thing that's changing the speed is going to be, whoops, the wrong place. I want this one over here, which will control the thrust that we are powering this guy with. So what I actually want to do is have a redstone link here, a redstone link here, and then hook them both up. So I'll plop, I'll use andesite alloy for this one. Red signal, red signal. And so if I move this one and set this to receive, that's now receiving the signal from there. And then I guess we only really need to focus on the speed that we give down here. Now, this is where I actually control the entire speed of the contraption itself, and we want this obviously on the maximum that we can have. The problem is, I need to kind of see how fast we can get it before it tuckers out, because we're only using 2 engines here. So my reckoning is if I had this like that, you know what, we'll make a little dinky sail like this. It'll look a little bit terrible, but bear with me. This is definitely not how you really want this system set up, but there we go. The most basic version there. So what I can do is test this is all working. So we're on the maximum speed right now. Hold W, hold A. Right, we are overstressed, so I actually need to clock this down by at least 1. Right, cool. I can get every single thing working. That's the forward, the left direction and the propeller all spinning at once. The main reason I want to kind of downspin the system is because imagine if we're flying and suddenly I can't turn left because that will overstress the system and the propeller stops working. As you can imagine, that's a pretty terrible idea. So that should hopefully fix it. Let me properly set up the sails and we'll actually get this thing going. Right, let's break down this scaffolding like so, and that little bit there. And we'll get this all set up. We'll glue the whole thing together with honey glue. So I'll set that all up there. We will pull it down by one because we've got this rope connector. We'll pull this all the way back right to the end, like so. And then we also need to go up by a couple so that we're touching that propeller bearing like that. Cool. I think that is the whole thing glued up, ready to go. And in fact, what I'm also going to do whilst I'm here is make this so that it can properly land. Because right now, if that lands, it's just going to fall on its arse. So I'll grab some wood as well. Moment of truth. I've got myself some charcoal. We'll now fire up the generators and set this all up. Let's sit down. We will pop this to give us some lift. Though we're not currently moving up. Oh, hold on. I've got the propeller spinning the wrong way. Hold on. So let's do that. Ooh. Oh, no. Hold on. We've got the exact same problem that we had before. Let me turn the propeller off. Again, this was because the centre of mass was not in line with the propeller bearing. And so currently, I believe we were actually back heavy, but the rope and gyroscope was just pushing us forward. I found this out the hard way when I decided to disconnect the rope, and then we flew backwards into the ravine. Turn you off. Okay, that's not worked. We almost ended up in the ravine. I don't know how we managed to dodge it. Thinking that I could somehow salvage this situation, I put some heavy items like cobblestone on the front to sort out the balancing problem, but then all hell broke loose. Oh, please don't fall down there. I swear down, man. That couldn't have gone any worse. I now have to get it out of a ravine. I don't know why this was my solution, but I then decided to try and fly it out of the ravine, despite the fact there was no space to actually fly. I don't know what to do here. I ended up doing what we did before with the beehive and tried to rope winch the helicopter out of the ravine, which worked a treat. I feel like fixing this up might be the entire series. It is working. Kind of. We still need to get it out of this ravine though, and I don't trust it taking off from there. There is a slight issue I'm noticing. I can't jump nearly as high because the thrust is actually pushing me down. Yeah, like, see, it's pointing at me right now, so I'm not even able to jump that gap. This is so weirdly physically accurate, and right now I hate it, but it is incredibly... Whoa. It just freed itself. Oh my god, how did this happen? Wait, hold on. Surely not. I'm struggling to get out, man. This is ridiculous. It did. Right. It's now free. I am incredibly terrified of messing this up now. I have an idea. And it might be the dumbest... No, tell you what. Turn off the engines. Break that. Bar there. So that diagram might fall off. I'm back on. Okay. And then we will whack on the propellers. We're moving. Hold on. F5. We are now in the contraption view. We are flying. Now, we only have 2 minutes of flight before this thing comes tumbling down, but we are flying. Now, this is the coolest thing I've ever done with this mod. Right now, I can't see anything. I'm actually going to lower this strength down to hopefully a little bit of a lower number so we can actually see where on earth we are. Okay. The world is coming into view. Let's try even further. I'm just hoping we don't come crashing down. And you'll see it kind of settles itself out with the air density. Awesome. So if I now go into my controls here. Okay, for some reason the lectern with the link controller isn't working, but I think I can do it manually with my hands. So if I hold W, we are now moving forward with our helicopter. If I use A and D, we are also moving with the helicopter. Oh, hold on. Okay, we are slightly a bit too forward facing, because you can see the gyroscope is, yeah, a little bit messy. We are flying around the Minecraft world now, though. However, we definitely needed to make some improvements in the stability department because we were just flying everywhere. Oh, no. I can't really explain to you how difficult this is to fly, but I mean, you can probably see it. What's it like from a first-person perspective? A little bit harder to see, but this does feel a bit like Battlefield helicopter driving. I then made the mistake of trying to land this thing, and you'll see another major problem is we're getting this weird wobbling effect. The wobbling is a real big problem, though. I'm noticing that. Might need to find out a way of fixing the wobbling. You'll see it's, yeah, drunken flying. Slow, slow. And then we just want to cut the power when we're not spinning it uncontrollably. There we go, we've landed, guys. Just sideways. I'm now completely stuck. So I'll leave that up to you. Was this a successful landing or not? Put it in the comment section below. And whilst you're there, like and hype the video, please. Thank you very much. But after a few more attempts, I finally managed to land the helicopter upright. And I think that's a landing. That is a landing. We've done it. Oh my goodness. Right, hold on. Whack that off. Take out the coal. That's basically the engines off. It's done. Oh my goodness. You don't know how hard it was to land this thing. We need to sort out the stability with this. See, the cool thing is this is so realistic in terms of physics that I'm actually trying to have to figure out how to do stability, like, in real life, to then apply it to Minecraft. So that's crazy. I'm wondering if I pop some sails facing this way, whether that would actually fix the problem that we're having. I'm not entirely sure. Surely that would mean that the air is coming over it like that when we've got thrust, and therefore it would kind of smoothen that out. I might be wrong. Some physics people in the comment section can actually fix that for me, thank you. However, for a maiden voyage, that did go better than the Titanic. So we've won something at least, and we can pull it back into where it was supposed to go, over here. Perfect, see? Check that out, brilliant. There we go, I've added a couple of symmetrical sails on the back here, and that somewhat looks almost realistic, right? Like that maybe? And then we've got our windmill sails here that should hopefully help out with the problem we're having with stability, like that. And if I use some andesite casing over the shafts, that'll encase that, and I think I can also do the same for the cog there and the cog there, and that will work. Now we've got a pretty cool looking build, to be honest, chaps. Check that out. I'm pretty proud of it, even if it is a little bit goofy and will fall in the ravine every single time I try and fly it. I wonder if I give it kind of like wings like this, whether it'll become a bit more stable. You know what? There's only one way to try it out. Let's go and fly this thing again with all of the modifications we've tried now. Although, before I do that, I do actually want to swap this out because for some reason that lectern thing here wasn't working. I don't know why. Even now it's not working. I could have sworn you could do this. Maybe that's changed, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, it says here that it places the controller on the lectern. I assumed that you could right-click it on there, but maybe there's a different rule about it on contraptions, and you're supposed to use the typewriter. Okay, cool. So that's what it looks like, and then we just need a bunch of buttons, a transmitter, and then everything else that we've got there. Precision mechanism there. Golden sheet, golden sheet. But speaking of this, I've been trying to come up with an idea. I've been tempted to make a second channel just for random bits and bobs, a bit like what I've been doing here, of just like an unedited, kind of long form, yapping away, no real kind of rhyme or reason, no plan. And I've been tempted to make a second channel. To be honest with you, I've not really had this channel long enough that I've kind of, you guys have got used to a specific kind of content. Like, I've been playing around with video essays, been playing around with, obviously, everything's modded Minecraft, basically. But it's been kind of refreshing that I can kind of try out loads of different things on this channel, and there's an audience for it. It's really, really nice to see that, and I'm glad you guys really appreciate whatever I upload. However, there are going to be some things, you know, whether it's different games, some Blender tutorials. I've been interested to see whether people would be interested on it on my channel. It's a little bit of a detour from what they kind of used to, and so I have been tempted, but I thought I'll get myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and try this out first. Maybe just some little things like music, things like that I've never really shown off on the channel, or maybe done a little bit of, but never explained or talked about. Maybe some like origin story, the Big Jim origin story. Ooh, that sounds pretty interesting. Afterwards, I then finally set up the typewriter and got everything working as expected. And so now, this was the maiden voyage of our version 2 design. Whack the altitude up. Ooh, are we back heavy still? Okay, so I have figured this out. Now, I think, if I quickly just escape this, I think we're actually back heavy. Yeah, we are slightly back heavy compared to the propeller, but it's not causing a problem. And to be honest with you, I kind of prefer it a little bit. Maybe this is wrong, and maybe this is like kind of a cardinal sin, but when it flies, it does still faces forward. But I've had to actually turn down the speed of the system. I have this analog lever I showed off on the side here, and this basically controls the entire speed of the system. That's the turning as well as the forward and backward motion, but that also links up into this propeller bearing here. We can still control that obviously with the analog strength, and right now this is the maximum we can fly with this current speed. So I can actually start to pop that maybe onto strength. That's a little bit too low. Hey, skills. Pop that onto something like 3 here, and we're now flying around pretty reasonably. And check out those speeds. These aren't bad. We're faster than walking, definitely. Don't entirely know whether I'd want to explore at this speed, or whether we might need to add some more generators later on in another episode and get this thing running a little bit quicker. You'll also see our speed of turning and thrust forward significantly slower now that I've actually down sort of shifted the whole system. Maybe we do also need to tweak that a little bit more. And also, I think you'll notice as well, this is flying significantly less wobbly. We're still getting a little bit of wobble. If I press F5 here, you'll see we're still wobbling, but we are nowhere near as bad as before, and I definitely think whatever we did with the sails helped out a ton with that. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's try and do a proper landing this time without messing it up like last time. This will be a massive test. Let's lower the strength down to 5. That will drop us down in altitude. Right, I think that's good. Let's drop it down to 6. We're at analog strength 8, and we are getting closer. Let's do a couple of micro adjustments here. And then finally, 9. That probably will be enough to touch the ground. And then turn off our engines. That is the first landing of our helicopter. This is so sick. That is the first proper landing, not the scuffed one. That was a full journey without doing any kind of flips, any kind of ravine hopping, and we didn't take out any more of the wildlife or trees. Oh, I'm loving that. That is so sick. I'm loving this mod, man. This is actually the most fun I've had in Minecraft in absolutely ages, especially with the Create mod. This is just... oh, I love it. I can't describe to you how much fun this is. I don't entirely know whether to drop the schematic for this. It doesn't really look like a... oh no, I guess it does kind of look like a helicopter. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know whether they have these wings on the side for stability, but that's now a feature of mine. But if you enjoyed this kind of smaller production value Let's Play, let me know, because this was a bit of an experiment for me. We managed to do something pretty outstanding here. I've never actually made one of these before, so I'm pretty proud of myself for doing it. So leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here, and I shall see you... well, I don't know. This wasn't going to be a series. I hope this isn't a series. I'd have to actually finish my house and my workshop if this was a series. Oh dear. Can't get away with a lawn base on my main channel. Anyway, take care.